Yahoo Fantasy Baseball Week 13 in the Tucson Toros group. This is your quick take, a quick trip around the league to talk about what happened in Week 13 play. Let's start with Twice as Nice, knocking off Lucky 7-3. Twice remains undefeated now after 13 weeks of play. Took 3 out of 5 on offense and 4 out of 5 in pitching this week. Twice had 5 winning pitchers, 6 pitchers with an ERA of 0, but still didn't win the ERA category. Lucky had an impressive ERA this week, 1.25 as a team. Matt Capps, though, for Twice as Nice, definitely did his best to help the cause with 2 victories and a 0 ERA out of the bullpen for Twice as Nice. Also out of the bullpen, Houston Street picked up 2 saves and a 0 ERA. He has definitely come back from his injury in a big way. On the offensive side, Twice as Nice used Aubrey Huff for 3 homers, 7 RBIs, and Carl Crawford for 3 stolen bases and a .400 average for the week. Lucky countered with just 8 players on the offensive side. 3 of those did hit over .400 for the week to take the average category, but the offensive firepower for Lucky still wasn't enough. Not using enough players, not sending the lineup, was eventually outmanned by week's end in the other categories. So Twice as Nice walks away with yet another victory. In other action, Grassy Knoll knocked off Hunt 1981 6-3-1. This is Knoll's 6th straight victory, 13 games back in second place now, just 2 games ahead of Hunt, as these 2 teams sit second and third in the standings. On the offensive side, Knoll took 3 out of 5, and then turned around and took 3 out of 5 in pitching as well. For the offense, Knoll used Torrey Hunter for 2 homers, 7 RBIs, and a .421 average. Also had the team's lone stolen base. 9 players hit over .300 as an offensive squad, an impressive .347 average as a team. For Hunt, 5 players were able to hit homers this week, and 5 players swiped a base. David Wright swiped 2 bases this week while also hitting .438 from the plate. On the pitching side, 5 pitching wins for Hunt this week. 2 pitchers at double-digit Ks. Tim Lincecum, though, continued his roller coaster ride through the 2010 season, picking up no victories and a 6 ERA for the week. Grassy Knoll combated that with Cliff Lee, 2 victories and 13 Ks, and then Rafael Soriano out of the bullpen had 3 saves and a 0 ERA. 3 closers on this team wrapped up the week with a 0 ERA to help Grassy Knoll pick up the victory. In other action, AC Padres knocked off Greek Thunder 6-3-1. Greek now falls to a tie for 5th place in the standings, while AC Padres is just 4 games out of the top 6, sitting 9th. So a lot of teams in that 2 through 9 range fighting it out. Offense was a 2-2-1 split, and then AZ Padres turned around and took 4 out of 5 in pitching. AZ Padres would beat 0-6 in the homer category. Didn't hit a single homer all week, but still took the RBI category because Greek could not get enough runs driven in. AZ Padres, though, was not clicking on offense. Adrian Gonzalez had no homers, hit .053 from the plate for the week. Just 2 players on the squad hit over .350 out of the 15 players that were used. Did have 6 players, though, swipe a base to help out in the stolen bases category. Meanwhile, Greek Thunder's offense had Joey Votto for 3 homers and 7 RBIs with a .385 average. The rest of the team combined for 3 home runs, so Votto definitely got the job done for Greek Thunder. On the pitching side, the saves battle was 7-6 in favor of Greek in a spirited battle. Joaquim Soria definitely helped out Greek take that category with 4 saves from Soria himself. For AZ Padres pitching staff, though, 6 saves from 3 different closers, all combined for a total ERA of 0. And Adam Wainwright had 2 wins this week with 16 Ks and a 0.59 ERA. The pitching staff as a whole for AZ Padres, 8 pitchers with an ERA of 1.5 or lower, while Greek Thunder had 4 pitchers with an ERA of 6 or higher. In other action, we had a tie between Waveland and Sheffield and the Metropolitans, 4-2. Both teams picked up 2-2-1 in the offense and pitching. Waveland now sits tied for 5th in the standings, with Metropolitans just 3 games back in 8th. Waveland's offense has been riding all season on the performance of Albert Pujols. This week, Pujols was big with 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and 7 runs. But Waveland's going to be struggling in the weeks ahead with Manny Ramirez, Jason Hayward, and Luke Scott on the DL. So it'll be interesting to see how this offense performs. Even with those players hurt, Waveland did manage 6 home runs and 3 players hitting over .400 this week. For Metropolitans, Jason Bay had 2 homers and 10 RBIs. Alex Rodriguez chipped in an additional 8 RBIs, but only hit .174 from the plate. On the pitching side, Metropolitans is struggling to pick up victories. No wins this past week. Two pitchers with an ERA over 8. Steven Strasburg didn't pick up a win again this week, but did chip in 12 Ks. Waveland countered that with Felix Hernandez, his win, and 11 Ks combined with a 0 ERA. Definitely helped the cause. As a staff, though, 3 pitchers for Waveland had an ERA over 6.75 or higher, I should say, including K-Rod, but K-Rod did contribute 3 saves. Jimmy Dugan and the Androids split 5-5. Dugan sits 4th in the standings now, just a game ahead of 7th place, so right in the middle of that dogfight for the top 6. Androids started off the season losing 5 of the first 6 weeks, but has now been unbeaten in 6 of the last 7, so definitely playing more competitive baseball of late. Androids took 4 out of 5 on the offensive side, while Dugan took 4 out of 5 on the pitching side. Not helping Androids in pitching this week was Ubaldo Jimenez. Did pick up a win in 12 Ks, but also threw in an 8.25 ERA. On the offensive side, Jimmy Dugan had just one player hit over 300 this week. The team, as an average, hit 205 from the plate, with Ty Wigington hitting 042 and Troy Gloss hitting 067. Team also only managed 1 stolen base, so the offense really struggling for Dugan. Android's offense was definitely stellar this week. Prince Fielder hit 3 home runs, and Rafael Furcal hit 2 homers, 9 runs, and a .538 average. In other action, Derek Lowe equals Cheater knocked off Otis and the Drunks in a bit of an upset, 5-3-2. This ends Otis's 4-week win streak. Otis is now 7th in the standings, half a game out of 5th. Cheater took 4 out of 5 on offense and 3 out of 5 in pitching. Very ugly battle in the ERA and WHIP categories. Cheater used just 7 players on the offensive side to get things done, taking 4 out of the 5 categories. 6 players hit homers, 4 players had an average over 300, and all the players had at least 2 RBIs this week. That was led by Hanley Ramirez, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, and a .320 average at week's close. Otis had, on the offensive side, 5 players hit under 200. On the pitching side, Cheater had 4 pitchers with an ERA over 5. Otis had 5 pitchers with an ERA over 5. So this was an ugly battle that still went the way of Derek Lowe equals Cheater by weekend. In other action, Koufax's Revenge knocked off Bronx Bombers 7-3. Koufax ends a 4-week losing streak with the victory. Took 4 out of 5 on offense and 3 out of 5 in the pitching categories. Bronx Bombers used just 7 players on the offensive side. Koufax had Carlos Gonzalez for 4 homers, 9 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases, but still had 4 players hit under 200 for the week. On the pitching side, though, Octavio Dotel picked up 5 saves this week for Koufax's Revenge. Had a 0 ERA to help take the pitching categories. And wrapping up the field, Tucson's Prettiest knocked off Woodaless 7-3. Tucson's Prettiest has now won 2 straight weeks, pretty much routed Woodaless on the offensive side, but Wood did take 3 out of 5 in pitching. TP had 4 players with multi-homer performances this week, led by Vlad Guerrero's 3 homers and Matt Kemp's 3 homers to go with 7 RBIs and a .409 average. Woodaless had just 6 players on the offense, none hit over 240, and Woodaless beat Tucson's Prettiest 3-0 in wins, but then turned around and lost the saves category, 0-2. In Week 14, looking ahead, Twice as Nice is going to take on Waveland and Sheffield to try to keep that undefeated streak on the line against one of the better teams in the league. Hunt 1981 is going to try to turn things around, taking on Greek Thunder, also looking to get some momentum back. Grassy Knoll is going to take on Bronx Bombers, trying to gain some ground on Twice as Nice. Jimmy Dugan's going to try to stay in that top 6, taking on one of the teams knocking on the door. That's the Metropolitans, sitting 8th right now. Otis and the Drunks is going to try to knock off one of these bottom feeder teams, taking on 15th place Lucky, coming off a loss to 13th place Cheater. AZ Padres and the Androids, both teams have big momentum. They're going to face off this week as the 9 takes on the 11. And Koufax's Revenge is going to take on last place Woodaless, and Tucson's Prettiest is going to take on 13th place Derek Lowe equals Cheater.